Well, good morning and welcome to our front yard garden here in the South Carolina upstate. We're in Greer, South Carolina near Greenville, and this is our 28th episode for 2025. It's September 12th now, 2025, and it's a beautiful Friday morning, not a cloud to be seen anywhere. I'm getting out here a little bit earlier than usual. It's not even 8 o'clock yet, and thought we might see some things that we don't normally see this early. I'm typically out in the late morning after the sun is up. We're going to start off with these morning glories. I still have a few of these purple ones. A lot of them we kind of pulled out because they were just everywhere and looking kind of, I don't know, kind of ratty this time of year. But we still have a few vines and a few flowers left. And we also have this newer, I don't know if this is a morning glory or not, but this newer vine, it's a much smaller one, these tiny little orange flowers. And as I look over here, there's even a little white one on a different vine. We have not put in a variety of these, so I'm thinking they may have come up on their own just from seeds spread around naturally, but it's kind of interesting to watch. Now next year we're going to put some clematis in this bed. All of our clematis had more or less died. I think we have one here that has a few leaves on it, but we want to get some Giacomini back in here. The ones we had just looked terrible, and so we pulled those out, and we'll put some new ones in next spring to bring back some of that beautiful purple color. Of course, the main event here in the mailbox bed is our zinnias, and they're starting to show their age now that we're into September, and this happens like clockwork every year. We're not even remotely close to a frost yet. In fact, I think the lowest temperature that we've had at night so far is about 55 degrees, but they respond to the shorter days, and just the leaves themselves start to look not super healthy. A lot of the lower leaves are just dead altogether, and then the plants themselves have a lot of dead flowers on them, and I can come out and deadhead those later. There's a significant number of dead flowers on here now compared to last week, so I'll need to spend a little bit of time today or sometime this weekend putting some time into deadheading these so that they look a little bit better. But some of the newer flowers, and there aren't as many of them right now as there were, but they're still looking good. And we've got, every color you can imagine, all kinds of different variations of yellows and reds and pinks and purples and so forth. So these are really primarily a midsummer plant, and so now that we're into the latter part of the year, the color is not what it once was. Now we have some more zinnias up here, and these are doing a little bit better. Certainly some of the leaves don't look so good, and they do need some deadheading, but overall I think the color is a little more vibrant in this area. We have again, we have the variety of color, but not quite as much of a variety, and I can't really speak as to why that is. We have one white and a lot of reds up in here, and then over this way more pinks, and one single yellow over here. And the flowers themselves are a little bit smaller than the ones in the front bed. I don't know if you noticed, the ones in the front mailbox bed where we started, some of them are a full 5 feet. In fact, I think there was one that was as tall as me, so it was pushing 6 feet in height. These are a little bit less, primarily 3 to 4 feet, and when you get this variety versus the shorter variety, they really do put out more flowers, and they're just a lot more exciting for your garden if you have the space for it. Plus they attract butterflies like crazy. Now we're not seeing that at this hour, but once the sun comes up, we'll see butterflies all through this area. Now behind all of this are the black-eyed Susans. I've talked about these many times. We have a lot more in the backyard, but that's where they started out, and they have spread just through nature up into this bed, and it's a real blessing because this time of year, mid-September, zinnias are primarily the only thing giving us color. Now we do have a couple other things like these Russian sage that are still blooming a little bit. Not a ton of color, but they never give you a ton. They're not an impact type flower. They just sort of sit and give you a little bit of that sort of lavender color, and this is a nice addition to a bed. We don't have a lot of those, but we have enough that they're still blooming. In fact, I don't know if it was because of the heat, but they weren't doing as well. In fact, I thought they were completely finished for the year, and then right now we're getting kind of a re-blooming. They're getting their second wind. It's probably because it's a little bit cooler. Our days right now are not really going above about 80 or 82, and some days it's only in the 70s. So, fall is on its way, and technically the first day of fall is just I think about 9 days away. So we're getting there quickly, unfortunately, or fortunately if you like fall and Halloween and all that. Now here we have our single dahlia flower, which is still blooming. It came out last week, and it's still looking pretty nice. This is not a prolific plant, and unfortunately it tends to get really top heavy as soon as it gets a flower on it. There is one more bud on there, so before the end of the year we may get one more flower. We'll see. Also in this bed we have our climbing rose, bright red, and even though this plant struggles every year with black spot, doesn't have a lot of leaves on it, but it does put out lots and lots of flowers. Last week I think it had close to 10. This week it only has about 3 active flowers and several that have kind of finished up, but it's a really nice consistent plant that comes back year after year and week after week, frankly, throughout the growing season. Over in here, not a whole lot to see. This is more of a spring bed, not bread. These are hydrangeas. They bloomed really about 3 months ago, and they've just been kind of on a slow fade since then. And I'll show our citrus grove, as I like to call it, our 4 little potted lemon trees. Got these on a sale at Home Depot last year. Didn't know if they would do anything or not, but they're certainly cheaper than the big ones that typically cost about $40 a piece. Now this is an orange. I've had this for I think 4 or 5 years now. It really has never done anything. I've never even gotten a single bloom off of it. It looks pleasant, but it's really kind of a lost cause. And then I have a lemon over here, kind of the same thing. They've got a big pot. I've fertilized these. I've done everything I can to try to make them grow, but they just have not really taken off. And strangely enough, the only success that I've had, and the only reason I even keep these lemon trees, is because I have finally this year a couple of lemons growing on this. This one is about 4 inches long, the other one about 3 inches. And out of all the flowers that have come out of these plants, those are the only 2 that got fertilized. And the flowers themselves are nice. They smell wonderful. You feel like you're right in the middle of a California or Florida lemon grove. And so they're worth it just for that. But they're not, if you're looking for actual fruit, they're not all that productive. Through here, again, this is all spring stuff. Through here, more hydrangeas that are just sort of slowly fading. We had a gardenia here that put out a couple of flowers just last week, and they're done now. And that was all we got out of this one this year. I don't know why there were so few. The plant itself is doing pretty well, but it's never been a big bloomer, unfortunately. Then back in here, these are viburnum. I cut these back a little bit last week. They had some shoots. You can hardly see them with all the greenery, but I wanted these to focus more on flowers in the next few years than just growth. I don't need them to be huge. I would like them to be more colorful, so you can see them a little bit better. They're sort of odd shrubs. They don't grow nice and evenly, and they'll get these peculiar shoots that shoot way up. Sometimes, I don't know if you can even see that on the video there, but this one shoots up about 4 feet, and some of them will shoot, up into the tree. And I had to cut a lot of those off last week because they were just getting out of control. Kind of the same thing here. I have more viburnum, and they kind of do the same thing. They'll put out these shoots that stick way out into the yard or way up into the trees, and I don't cut all of those off because I want it to grow to some extent, but I don't necessarily want them to grow huge. I would rather them put out more flowers in the spring. So we'll see what happens next year. It's the first time I've cut them back at all. Otherwise, this is, again, probably a mostly spring bed here, but we do have a few little azalea flowers that are coming out this time of year, the little red ones. We'll probably get a little more blooming as we get closer to October. Most of these bloom a second time. And then we have a lot of hostas with lilies, iris, all kinds of things through here. But this is, as I say, mostly a spring bed. And interestingly enough, and again, I think it's just mainly because the days are getting shorter and the plants respond to that as much as anything. This butterfly bush has almost completely shut down just since last week. There were quite a few flowers on it when we did this video a week ago today. Hardly any now, just a few little remnants. I think it was giving out its last gasp last week, so I think this may be the last week that we have any color on that. We'll see. I did finally get out, after talking about this whole year, I finally got out and deadheaded these knockout roses last week, and strangely enough, we're getting some flowers. Now, what you usually see when you deadhead these things is some growth of leaves, and then the flowers come soon after that. But I'm seeing some buds, a couple flowers up in here. It may be too late for this year. We'll find out. But it would be nice to see a few more red roses on this. I really learned a lesson this year. I need to not procrastinate. I did way too much this year, and instead of the plants growing, they just focused on the seed pods. And I watched a couple of our neighbors with similar plants who deadheaded theirs, and it really paid off. They were getting flowers all through the year. So next year I'm going to try to do that. Over here, this is a bed that just looks like a mess at this point, mainly because of the Monarda. Now, these are big flowers that bloomed back in the early summer, big red flowers, but they've all just sort of died and fallen over. There's one bloomer here. This is a nice one that I just saw last week coming out for its second wind. This bloomed in the spring. I always call it rock candy because it kind of looks like that, but it's a salvia. Nice, beautiful, bright blue one. And so that'll hopefully bloom for a few more weeks before fall comes in. Most of the other things in this bed are done, although we do have a few things to show off. These dahlias here struggled all year. I talked about this in the midsummer. Most of them would try to open up. The buds would develop. They looked like they were going to bloom, and then they would just turn black and kind of die off. But right now we've got this group of white ones. I pulled them up and put them on a trellis so that they would not be out into the yard. Still looks like kind of a mess. It looks better in person than it does on the video, but unfortunately some of these plants, by the time you get to this late in the year, it's kind of hard to make them do anything all that attractive. It's just not a great time for most flowers. Now, having said that, we've out of nowhere we've gotten this beautiful rose, another one that's about to open over here. I didn't even deadhead this, I don't think, because I see some seed pods over here, but we're getting some nice flowers off of this. What else do we have? We have a few phlox that are just about finished. See a couple little pink flowers there, not much to look at. A few zinnias, more of the same as what we saw earlier. For whatever reason, I cannot explain this, but these are almost entirely this dark pink or lavender color, and we didn't really plant them any differently. We had all these coffee cups full of seedlings back in the spring, and we just kind of put them in randomly. But why we're getting about 80% one color in this area, it's hard to say. I don't really know why. Now, I did come through and deadhead a little bit on these knockout roses here. We have 3 of them, pink, red, and salmon. And I don't know if that's why. It seems like a little quick to have had this happen in 7 days, but we're getting a bunch of new flowers on this bed, on this plant. Actually, all 3 of them. And it may also be because of the weather. Now that it's cooler, it's a little more amenable to this sort of thing. But this one needs more deadheading. I see a lot of seed pods on here. If I can get those off, maybe these flowers will do a little bit better. So I might have some work ahead of me. Now, one thing too that I've noticed growing just kind of out of the blue, we did not plant these little morning glories, the little tiny ones, kind of a light purple color, and they're just kind of growing up on this one plant. I don't really see them anywhere else. And I think that's it for this bed. There's not much else. Like I say, we're back to the Monarda. We had gladiolas over here. They're all long since finished. So, I mean, it really looks like a bed in fall. This looks much better in the spring. Really, the whole front yard looks better in the spring. Our backyard tends to do a little bit better this time of year, and we're going to see that on the follow-up video. As I say, there's still, even though this doesn't look perfect, there's still a lot of color to show off at this time of year, and that's the reason for these videos. I didn't really focus in on these bright red. We don't really see a lot of this color in that mailbox bed, but these bright red ones are really striking, and then really all the colors of zinnias are striking. They're absolutely beautiful flowers, and I recommend them highly. They're very low maintenance, and they do well, and if you like butterflies, they bring lots and lots of those. This, I forgot to mention this triangle bed. It's kind of, for the most part, it's a lost cause for most of the year. We've got some phlox that grow in the spring, but it's just gotten a ton of grass that's grown up in it, and I've tried to kill some of that off. The only other thing we have in this bed is this petite knockout rose, and I did deadhead it to some extent, although as I look closer, I could be doing a lot more on this one, and I might have to do that this weekend. But we've gotten a lot of roses, new roses coming out just in the past week, so it looks like it's getting its second wind, and if I deadhead it, maybe it'll do a little bit better. So that's it for the front yard. We're gonna do our backyard garden next. Hope it's sunny wherever you are, and until next time, happy gardening.